This is my fox shooting vehicle. It's based on a Ranger EV, as in electric vehicle. I can drive it from the back or from the front, depending on the circumstances and the shooting environment. By far, this is from the driver's seat is the most comfortable. Takes bumps, so rougher terrain is much better. My nephew made me the armrest there, which makes for a very steady shot. I've got the spotlight up top. The red filter is just to protect the lens. I don't use the red filter very often these days. I just use the white light or the night vision. Driving it from the back, that was inspired by a YouTube video. I think it's, I don't know the name of the guy, but out of the UK. He had a Range Rover, so I thought that was a damn fine idea. So I built this based on having a bit of fun with it on cheaper items, mostly from eBay. So my steering wheel cost me $10. The Hilux brake pedals cost me $10. The frame is actually gates, as you can tell. We're on a farm. So it's just made out of bits and pieces. Old stool that I had, just for a bit of fun. I could have made it a lot more professional if I wanted to. Simple levers down to the brake and to the accelerator, and a bit of stainless steel wire across to the forward and reverse switch. I typically have my battery sitting there. I mostly shoot on my own, so I don't often have a passenger. I can put it, if I do have a passenger, I put it in the back. So it gives me quite a bit more height. And I'll show you later in the video, we're on 600 acres here, and we have just over 6 kilometres of laneway. So while that is a very comfortable position, you've typically got to point, your vehicle towards what you're shooting in fox. And in some of our laneways, that's very difficult to do. Plus we're shooting through fences all the time as well. Whereas here, it gives me about 150 degrees of shot. Much higher, see down. That's probably the best part of 6.5 feet tall. So I get a much clearer view. The spotlight up there gives me a clear display. That's a HID, Light Force HID 70 watt. That's a 50 watt HID, brilliant lights. Mounted next to it is a Pulsar HD 50S thermal imaging. I've mounted it there because it just makes it easier to hold. You can just have it on whenever you want rather than bring it up to your eye. Never seem to have enough hands. I carry a couple of rifles with me. I normally carry a couple of rifles. This is my Seiko 22-250 super varmint stainless. It's has a Night Force 5.5 by 22 by 56 scope. Brilliant scope. It's a great rifle, very accurate. My other is a Tikka T3. It's a stainless steel super varmint as well, and it has the Pulsar N750 digital night scope on it. As I said, with Pulsar thermal imaging, that's a great piece of gear. When you're trying to be stealthy, that's just an absolute perfect piece of gear for tracking down foxes and rabbits too, for that matter. I have it connected to a little screen which I open closed during when I'm travelling. That way I'm not having to fiddle with it, put it up to my eye. Wearing glasses, I find it easier to lift my glasses to look through it. So this just simplifies the whole matter. Plus I can push the screen to one side and keep an eye on where the fox is. Sometimes with the digital scope, it's a little hard to find with the infrared light, so it just makes it a little bit easier to locate it with the thermal imaging, and then all you got to do is point your rifle in the direction that that's pointing and you're good to go. Shot quite a few foxes doing it with that method. It's just a bit of marine ply up top with the bits and pieces to make life a bit easier. Like I said, it was a cheap project to do, but it's great. So I can quickly convert it from being driven from the top to the bottom, to convert it from driving it up top to down below. Just have to undo a couple of bolts, take off the steering arm. These, the brake and accelerator, they just slip in and out, so they just unhook and away you go. So it makes the transition very quick, and I can go back to driving in the front position. That's pretty much it. The electric vehicle is quite stealthy, but this is no way a recommendation for Polaris. This is the second EV, and the first one was an absolute lemon. Broke down. I had it for 3 years. Spent 12 months in that 3 years in the shop, and just about had everything changed several times. So anyway, I've got the second one. This one is very good. Doesn't give me any grief whatsoever. So it's nice and quiet. We'll go for a drive. So as I said, we have about 6.2 kilometres of laneway. So from this position, it's extremely easy to see any foxes or rabbits or whatever you're after. And like I said, the laneways can be a bit narrow. I don't know whether you can see that laneway there. It's got a drain either side. So if you need to point your vehicle to the fox that you see down the paddock, then it takes a little bit of manoeuvring. And usually by the time you've done that, the fox has moved on. So it's so much easier to be able to stop and shoot immediately. So I got full control of forward, reverse from up here. Very quiet. Main beauty about the electric side of things is there's no stopping and starting a motor. Diesels tend to vibrate a little bit, so you've got to turn them off. I can hear telltale signs of any sort of bird, especially like plovers, giving me an indication that there's something around. So it's easier to listen for signs of something around. So that's it from up here. Pretty cool. We might have a bit of a drive from down the bottom just to show you the difference. So this is the driving position from down the bottom. Spotlight up there. So it's a very comfortable position. If you're in a rough paddock or rougher terrain, by far this is the place to be. Up the top, any bumps are magnified because of the distance, the height that you're at. So it can get very uncomfortable with the timber board hitting you in the ribs all the time. So if you're in rough terrain or you've got someone with you, this is by far the place to be. Now some of our laneways are nice and wide, so it's very simple to turn and take aim at something, but you've always got to deal with the fences and some gates, etc. So sometimes that's a little hard to get in the right position to take the shot, but this is a really good position down here. So it allows me to cover the farm. Takes me about 2 hours just to drive along the laneways. Now, I don't go into every paddock. I just go around the laneways and look for any foxes or rabbits or whatever. So I can cover the farm with a quick overview in a couple of hours. If I wanted to, I can sit and call and do all that sort of stuff, but I figure that I can cover a fair bit of ground this way. I shot 90 last year, so it's pretty effective. 70 of those were down at this position. I hadn't finished the driving from up the back project, so but ever since I finished that, I definitely shoot from up there. So back up the top again. As you can see, we run sheep, cattle, so foxes for us are a very real problem. We have alpacas, electric fences, all sorts of stuff, and shoot as well. So they're a constant problem. So, well, that concludes the info on the vehicle that I use. Thought that you might find it interesting, that, you know, give somebody some ideas of what they might do. Always working on this, still perfecting it. I would like to have a roof over this. Two things: to protect you from the rain, but also the spotlight when I'm spotlighting, so it doesn't shine in the back of my scope. The Night Force is a brilliant scope, doesn't really affect it that much, so that's not that big an issue. But I have tried other scopes and you can't see a thing, so a roof would be good. The only trouble is to move a rifle from that position to the back position. It normally stands up in the air, which is quite high, so I'm not too sure what to do about a roof as yet. So there we go. Any changes, I'll do another video and give you an update.